Hey everybody, KoBaC here, and today I'm going to be talking about my deck, Control to Victory. This is the version 3. This is a Ruby Amethyst control deck. I don't see a lot of people using control right now, which I think is crazy, but as we're heading into the Reign of Jafar set champions season, I think this might be a good time to discuss this deck and kind of what I've changed from the last set to now. Now, if you haven't seen my videos before, in the last set, I used, let's say, the version 2 of this deck to get to second and first place in set champs. It performed very well. I then made some slight changes to it in the beginning of Reign of Jafar in anticipation for a case tournament that was coming up, and I got first place in that with this version of the deck. I haven't made any other changes since then because it's been doing incredibly well. So I'm going to kind of get into it a little bit. I don't want to make the video too long, so if you would like a more in-depth analysis or something, or kind of a breakdown, or kind of seeing how it's played, let me know down in the comment section, just so that way the video isn't, an hour long. All right, so we've got 61 cards. I can do, let's change the view to cost. There we go. So we've got 9 1s, 7 2s, 21 3s, when you count the locations and the actions and everything, 8 4s, 7 5s, 5 6s, and then 4 7s, which are just be prepared. You will notice I don't run any big Sisu, I don't run Hades, I don't run Scar, I don't run Maleficent Dragons, because not that I think there's any Ruby Amethysts that are probably doing that, but just so that you kind of know, I'm not doing any of the higher end stuff except for be prepared. I want everything else to be very flexible, to help me, a lot of things to help generate cards, or to counter other things that my opponent is doing, so that I completely slow the game down, take control of it, and then the hope being you then continue to win the game at the end. So there's lots of control pieces in here, a lot of disruption stuff for my opponent, and then also some locations, lots of card draw and stuff, to be able to help board wipes and things to be able to help take control and win. So for the cards themselves, I'm running a variety here of one-drop characters because they perform different roles. And that's kind of like the overall thing. My play style, my deck building strategy is I don't like to do 4 ofs of everything. It really depends on what I need it for. This deck has so much filtering, so much card draw potential, that you don't really have to worry about having a 1 of or a 2 of and never seeing it. And then sometimes you do a 2 of because you're like, well, if I see it at the beginning or at certain points, it's great. If not, it's ink. I'm okay with that. And I found that so far this deck has worked very well for me. So with the 1 drops, all of these generate cards in one form or another. With the 2 drops, the real thing that I'm looking for, depending on if I'm going first or second, is that I'm either looking to play a turn 1 and then maybe 2 more 1s on turn 2, or like Pegasus. Sometimes Teeth and Ambitions, especially if you're going up against a discard deck and you want to delete that Diablo, or maybe even like a turn 1 Cindy, that can be very helpful. I'm not really looking to play Snake almost ever. That's why she's down to a 2. Pegasus is up to 3. And that's really devastating because if with Pegasus hit with the buff from the Merlin Crab, you're now a 6 strength thing, just deleting something, right? That's Robin Hood. Almost anything that can be possibly shifted or played on turn 2 or 3 cannot survive Pegasus, right? Nothing. So I am willing to trade my little Pegasus to annihilate, you managed to get out a sad boy beast on turn 3, goodbye, right? Or something else that you didn't really think was necessarily a big threat. I can just get rid of it. It can also sing Teeth and Ambitions. He's inkable. He's evasive, so that also helps with the Diablos. So then going into the 3s, obviously 4 friends on the other side because that is paramount that we continue to have card draw throughout the deck. Foxes and crabs and Mauis are on the higher side. You'll see 3 of for the Maui, 3 crab, 4 fox. That is to help counter if you run into a mirror match that the other person also likes locations. I find that locations in mirror match are absolutely devastating. So many Ruby Amethyst players, from evasive to some sort of control or the Flingers deck, they might run some locations sometimes, but not normally 4. And even if they do have locations, right, and they destroyed all of mine, I'm going to equally destroy all of theirs with the scorched earth, right? So having lots of fox and crab and Mauis to bounce around and help buff other things to delete stuff is huge potential. I run 2 of the Maleficent, help get card draw. Crab speaks for himself. Peter Pan is the new addition to this deck. And what did I take out? I don't remember. I don't have time for that. I put Peter Pan in there specifically to help deal with green steel discard because I was concerned that that would be something that would appear and that I wouldn't have a way to kind of really deal with it. Yeah, I've got Brawl. Yeah, I've got Teeth and Ambitions, but if they put it on Cove, that's a problem. Brawl, yeah, you know, some other stuff. But I wanted something that they couldn't interfere with, that had evasive, that I could delete something of theirs. Now, I have Peter Pan, but I do not run Half Shark. I do have 2 Elsa and 1 of the genies, but I do not run Iago's. I do not run the Moana evasive. I am not running Peter Pan to play the evasive version of Ruby Amethyst. I think that that version, personally, is very weak. I know it wins tournaments. I know it wins big events, but I think that in large part, it's because people don't know how to counter it. For me, my version of this deck annihilates mirror match that run evasive. And that's not to say that like I'm some amazing player. I think that there's just enough immediate answers in this deck. Like as long as you can keep Peter Pan off the table from an opponent, right? If they play Shadowfinder, I play Brawl. If they play Shadowfinder, I'll play Medusa or Dragonfire. I'll whatever to make sure that they are not able to play Half Shark and get any value from it. If I prevent them from getting any characters, any challenging done from their Half Shark to help bring back actions for them, I've probably already won the game. We're just playing it out. Because without that, Half Shark is just completely neutered, in my opinion. So I have included 2 Peter Pan Shadowfinder, not to help my evasives or my rush character. I'm sorry, characters with evasive gain rush. Getting the flip with the shadow. I'm not trying to give my evasive characters rush. I am trying to have Peter Pan Shadowfinder as an answer to delete Diablo that's not Brawl and that's not a song, and that I can delete him on turn 3, well 4 depending on how, you know, who's going first, but being able to get rid of that Diablo as quick as possible, because if we can keep them from getting a lot of card draw going, they can't discard as easily, right? And we need to be careful as Ruby Amethyst control player. We cannot let them just continuously make us discard our hand. That ravages us and messes us up bad. I'm still running 3 Library and 3 Brawl. I don't do 4 Brawl because there's a lot of characters. There's a lot of steel right now. A lot of things have 3 or higher strength. So Brawl's useless. So I find that having 3 is nice because sometimes they'll play something that we can interfere with quickly. It's nice to have when you need it, but I don't find it to be so crazy strong. Like I used to be a big proponent of 4 of all the time. I run 3. With the locations, I run 3 Library and 1 Castle. I find that that is a really, really strong mix. Typically, I'm going to use Library more than Castle because that 1 extra health does keep Library around quite a bit more often than you would imagine. If you haven't played a lot of locations, having 8 health is much harder to deal with than 7. When there's 7 and it generates 2 lore, they look at that and they're like, I can't let that stick. I have to destroy it. When it's, you know, a Library with 1, sometimes they feel the pressure, sometimes they don't. I'm hoping that they don't because I'm trying to lure them in to let me put characters there so that as I blow up their stuff, I'm also generating cards. Or if I ever play B-Prep, I'm going to just generate more cards, right? So it's awesome. It is a super great card to have around. Genie, I'm only doing a 1 of. With the rabbits, I'm doing 3. I was doing 4 rabbits forever, and then I started testing with Genie. I've gone up to like 1 Genie, 4 rabbit, 2 Genie, 3 rabbit. I find that 1-3 works the best. Most of the time, I'm going to play rabbit because I get the guaranteed card when he drops and the guaranteed card when he leaves. And if I bounce him, I get it back, right? If they destroy it, I get the card. All these sort of circumstances, I'm going to generate 2 cards off every rabbit. With Genie, I'm only really guaranteed the 1. I find a lot of the times Genie will just get deleted. I'll find the rabbit gets deleted too by a lot of players. Okay, you gave me a second card so I can keep things moving. I don't like really running over more than 1 and 3 in this instance because sometimes you end up with extra rabbits in your hand, like 2 or 3 of them. And you don't want that because then it's taking up a lot of space. Now, if you had 17 cards in your hand, yeah, you make that work. But when you've only got like 4 or 5 and you have 3 rabbits, yeah, it's nice to have the card, but we're really also looking for the control pieces too. Goat, I'm only running 3 of. It's nice to have. I went down to 2. I lost some games with that previously. And I was like, you know what? I think 3 really is it because I need to have the ability to ink 1 maybe early and then be able to find him later. And I find 3 helps a lot with that. Elsa, I only feel that 2 is necessary. She's a really good card when you need her. Otherwise, she's kind of on the weaker side. She can be helpful when we get to higher ink amounts on the table. yeah, it's great to be able to play Elsa, exert something of theirs, hit it with Fox or whatever else, and be able to take it out. That feels good. But when you're kind of in between that, let's say 8 to like 12 ink, sometimes playing her means I'm not doing something else, and it doesn't always feel so great. I found that 2 works really well for me, and I've been very happy with it. Finders Keepers, I've seen some Ruby Amethyst guys going up to like 3 of these. I feel that is very excessive because we can't sing it. And we have lots of other ways to generate cards in this deck that I don't feel that I really ever need to have more than one. Yeah, it stinks to ink it early on. I usually try to mulligan it back because I don't want to ink it right away. But, the thing is, even if I do, I'm not super worried because we have, again, lots of ways to do card draw. The other bigger change from my previous versions to this one is I used to run Be King Undisputed because it's a song Rabbit, Genie, and such could sing it. I have been experimenting with Dragonfire, and I feel that really it could go either way. You could do one or the other. Dragonfire is nice when I need to be able to do a direct, delete when they have multiple characters. But I have found that also, Be King was really strong. They're both uninkable. One's a 4-cost song, the other's a 5-cost. I think you could go one or the other. I wouldn't really say do like too much of both or something. Having one is just nice to just have around. Maui, definitely a 3 of. I've seen guys go down to 2. I think that's a mistake. You need to be able to find him when you need him, because if they're playing, McDuck Manor, if they're playing other locations, if they're playing other big things, I will happily trade Maui to delete. There's a variety of characters that are pretty strong at this point. I would be happy to throw Maui into it and get rid of their power card, because a lot of decks, a lot of times are only running a couple of big things. And if we're able to just crash into it and take it out, now this is a character for us, he doesn't generate lore. Yeah, he's 5. Yeah, he's inkable. Yeah, he could sing Friends on the Other Side. He could sing Together to help do Pirate's Life. But I mean, there's not a lot more that he can do other than be a big threat on the table. I don't like to normally play Maui and have him without a target to immediately attack. Very, very rarely. Sometimes if I have like 3 cards and 2 of those are Maui, I'll put one out, because what it does is it attracts the attention of the opponent, and they look at that and they're like, ugh, if I play anything big and I turn it sideways, Maui's just going to kill it. So very rarely I'll put him on the table and leave him kind of like, go ahead, do it kind of thing to them. But I often don't want to play him unless he has something to immediately do. 3 of works really great for me. Next up is 2 Pirate's Life. I think I've gone up to 3, and I kind of just rebalanced things and went down to 2. 3 was nice in the previous version because you could still ink 1 or 2 and still hope to find one later to help close out the game. My thing would be, if you're going to play Pirate's Life, don't play it early. What you want is to have enough characters on the table where you're about to quest to like 17, 18, 19, right? And your opponent looks at that and says, man, he's all right. He's going to quest to 19 next turn, but I can play out these other characters and then I'll win on the following turn when he doesn't have the ability to do something. Being able to play Pirate's Life when they're not expecting it completely messes them up. Now, they might be thinking, well, yeah, he's going to get to 18. He might have Goat, right? And if he has Goat and he has a way to bounce the Goat, I'm already lost anyway. But if they've seen you, you've gone through snakes, you've gone through some of your foxes, and they've seen you ink a goat or 2, or you played it and they've been already defeated, they already are kind of thinking, okay, how many goats could he possibly be running? How many bouncing things could he possibly be running? And they're like, I'll let him quest to 18. That's not enough for him to win. He has to find goat and he has to find the bounce to be able to win. But if I've already got Pirate's Life and I'm at 18, pop, game's over. So I will sometimes play Pirate's Life on the earlier end if they are playing aggro and if they are already kind of questing pretty big and I want to kind of pull them down. Pirate's Life is a good card for us because it sometimes can be a bit demoralizing for your opponent, which, I mean, that's part of the game, is playing against the other person, not so much of just, trying to quest to 20. You're playing against them. So sometimes being able to, demoralize them a little bit does work in your favor, because then they already feel kind of like, man, it took me so long to quest to 14. Now I'm back to 12 and we could still be at like 6. Because a lot of times in the early game, we're not really questing. If I might be questing up here, it's because I'm questing with Chernobog to blow it up to get a card. Or I'm questing with Broom and then playing Diablo, blowing up my Broom, right? In hopes that on turn 2, hoping that I'm going to find another 1-drop to be able to put down. So I might quest with some other characters right before I bounce them, but I'm really more often, these characters here, they're singing friends if I have it. Pretty much always. Early game, I'm singing to get friends on the table, get me card draw. These characters, I'm singing friends, get me card draw, or bounce, right, to be able to generate some sort of value. These other characters, they're not really getting played unless I'm deleting something, or I need to disrupt something of my opponent. So they're not usually super questing. Although I will say it is fun to play Medusa and then on the following turn have her sing Pirate's Life, because she's only going to quest for one anyway, so I might as well do something to disrupt my opponent a little bit more. Maybe then I can also bounce her and return her to my hand, and then they know I have Medusa in my hand, so if they play certain other things, they know it's gone. So moving on with Tremaine and Medusa, I find a 2-1 split works the greatest. There's lots of characters, the same with Brawl, that are 3 or higher, so it's hard to get rid of them. So with Tremaine, they get rid of the character. It is always going to be a phenomenal play to play B prep, wipe the board. It is now I passed my opponent's turn. They play something big, and then Tremaine, delete, right? That just completely breaks them. And it totally gives us time to be able to get things moving so that we are able to get in place to continue playing to hopefully be able to win. With Medusa, I find that I really only want one of her. I used to do a 2-2. I find that the 1 works great. I don't really have to worry about it. She helps me to get rid of Beast, Robin Hoods, a variety of other characters that maybe are high at the singing end, like Ariel or something, right? Get rid of her, delete. That can, give us time to be able to win, bounce these characters to be able to replay them. The other thing I love about Tremaine is that she is shiftable. So if you do happen to have 10 ink, you can play 1, they get rid of a character, you shift the second, they get rid of that character also. Or you already have a Tremaine out, you could quest or sing friends with her, sing Pirate's Life if you needed to really bail you out. Then you can, quest or sing, shift, make them lose a character, and then play Fox or Snake to bounce both of those cards back into your hand. Now you have 2 to be able to play on the following turns, and maybe Fox was able to also take something out. That's huge. Absolutely can be a huge play at the right time. You can end up having effectively a board wipe, but by just playing characters to interfere with them. That's huge. Lastly, I'm running the 4 B preps. I see guys that are running less. I think that's a mistake. Until Fabled comes out and we find out if B prep's going to be reprinted, I think B prep is hands down in the top 3 to 5 cards in the entire game. When it comes to Ruby Amethyst, I think it is probably in the top 2 cards for us. The top 1 being probably Friends on the Other Side, because we have so many other things in our toolbox. But I mean, being able to consistently get card draw moving, and then to be able to find B prep when we need it to delete stuff of theirs to be able to give us time is literally how this deck works. If we didn't have it, could we make it work with big Sisu and Tremaines and Medusas and things? Yeah, we probably could, but being able to just get rid of everything of theirs, regardless of how strong it is, including our own, right, is massive, is really massive. I don't find that the Flynn and Sisu package works currently. There's a lot of ways to get rid of Flynn. Sisu just doesn't have the value of her without having Flynn, and I wouldn't do the big Sisu myself without having a smaller Sisu to shift her on. Yes, it's turn 6 as opposed to B prep being turn 7, but if I don't have the ability to shift the big Sisu, I'm now waiting an additional turn to play her. So if I'm against aggro, I really have no chance of being able to get her on the table until turn 8. By then, the game's probably over. And if I am interfering with them enough that Sisu would have any value, I could have just played 2 B preps and just already solved the problem. Or 1 and just solved the problem. So I feel that big Sisu is just not as impactful for us right now with the way things are. I think B prep is the way to go. The only kind of strategy I would kind of give you is that if you're against anything with green in it, anything at all, I would say you never want to start your hand ever with B prep in it, because we have so many ways to draw cards. We don't want a dead card in our hand just holding us up. We want lots of things to have options. That I would definitely throw it back. And I would never, ever, 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 ever want to have any songs in my hand if I'm against green. If I'm ever against green, I'm throwing the card away or I'm going to ink it. It feels bad to ink Friends on the Other Side on turn 1, but it feels even worse to ink something else and then see an Ursula drop and throw it away. And you got no value from the card, because if at least I ink it, I've at least gotten a guaranteed value of an ink rather than nothing if they yank it out of my hand. So that is the deck. If you have any questions or comments about it, I'd be happy to answer as best I can. I find that this deck is possibly the sleeper agent of this set. I think a lot of people have moved away from this, and I think that that is a mistake on their part, and that could be a different video all into itself. But I thank you guys very much for watching, commenting, and hope to talk to you guys again soon.